Hello and welcome to the Black Tower. My name is Aaron.
And I am Andrew. So, the spoiler warning. This is the first one of our Patreons that gets to hear themselves on an episode for the spoiler warning.
Yay.
Yep. So, I'm going to let him introduce himself and take it away.
Hello, this is Sumi Ejiwami, called Bookworm 200, and this is your spoiler warning. This episode contains selected portions of several books in the Wheel of Time. If you have not read the entire series, you are in danger of being spoiled. You have been warned.
All right. So, Bookworm, dude, thanks for coming on and recording that spoiler warning for us, or with us. I think we ultimately had to record it separately and he sent it to us because of audio issues, but this is what it is. So today's topic, as we've done in the past, I've got a quote for you to see if you can guess it 5 seconds before we say what it is. Light, but you mind me of the time Teva got so mad at a hornet buzzing round his ears, he kicked the nest. You've likely just convinced everyone in the room that you're some deep part of the game. It must be deep, as they'll see it, if you deny playing at all. That is a quote from Huron from chapter 25 of The Great Hunt.
How long do we wait for people to guess what it is before we just say it?
I think we've waited long enough. I mean, okay. They're like, what is it? Probably paused it, or if not, pause it now before you hear it if you still want to think about it.
Okay, I'm going to have to remember not to put the name of what it is we're talking about in the title of the episode.
That's why I like the title we put on the schedule. You think this is a game?
That was a great title. I'm totally going to use that.
Every once in a while I get a little inspiration.
Every once in a while, I have a good idea.
So yeah, Aaron, what are we talking about?
Today we are talking about Deus de Mar, or the Great Game of Houses.
Yes, this was a idea that was proposed to us by Twitter user @dtaberwin, who is the Brain Taberwin on Twitter. Another one of the fantastic character-inspired Twitter accounts.
Twitter of Time.
Twitter of Time, yes. You can visit the Brain in the lovely city of Carrion. Carrion, yep, that one. See, nothing changed here. I still can't speak. But it's an idea, we kind of thought about it, and it's one of the tools I use to explain to people that want to kind of get into the series, and they're also big fans of the Game of Thrones. Because, as we know, Deus de Mar is Old Tongue for the Great Game, but is commonly called the Game of Houses. So, sorry there, Game of Thrones fans, you did not invent such debauchery and underhandedness. I mean, the author didn't. Fans didn't invent anything but fanfics. But
right.
Yeah. As I'm wearing a Game of Thrones shirt recording right now.
Oh my gosh.
It's the one that says I drink and I know things.
Oh, I love that scene. This is my favorite scene.
That's pretty much all I do.
I drink and I know things.
It sounds so bad. I sound like I just called myself an alcoholic and that's all I do.
Well, you kind of did.
Yeah, well. I'm functional-ish. Oh.
And so, what more can we ask of ourselves other than to just get through the day?
I know, right?
So the Great Game of Houses.
So I've got the page in the Wheel of Time Companion. If you want me to read that.
Please do.
So Deus de Mar, the Great Game, also known as the Game of Houses, and involved the use of misdirection and hidden meanings and motives in word and deed to gain power and status. Great value was given to subtlety, to aiming at one thing while seeming to aim at another, and to achieving ends with the least visible effort. It was developed by, I still can't pronounce the city, Iranian.
Yeah, I don't. You've messed me up now too. I don't know what it is either.
One of us. Carinian nobility adapted from Aes Sedai intrigue and spread throughout the southern nation. So that is what the companion has to say about Deus Damar. Deus Damar. Damar. Um, so obviously it's like political and social maneuvering,
Yeah.
right?
Deus Damar is a phrase in the Old Tongue which translates to the Great Game. So it's not technically the Game of Houses, but it's more commonly known as the Game of Houses. And yes, it's if you boil it down, I think basically it at its base element is any kind of political or social maneuvering, networking, backstabbing to gain status or wealth. Would basically, I mean, it gets used to bring people down, raise people up, make people more powerful, less alive. By that I mean dead. But it's basically a political, social, like promotion tool.
Yeah, it's like saying, "Hey, if you do this, I'll do this for you," but trying not to say it right out. It's a whole lot of reading between the lines. Like, you doing this or not doing this must mean something else.
Yeah.
What could it mean?
What does it mean when you say this? We kind of get introduced to the game in the Great Hunt when Rand and Huron and Loyal show up at Carrion. And Rand kind of refuses to play the game. He says, "This is stupid." And anytime people are sending him invitations, he's throwing them in the fire, where everybody can see. He's like in the common room, just throwing party invitations in the fire. So every time he does that, a more influential house sends him an invitation thinking he must be important. And he's really just over there like, fuck this. I don't want to play this stupid game. I'm here for a reason. And he's too short-sighted or juvenile or whatever to see the advantages of playing the game. And in doing that, he apparently does it quite masterfully.
Yeah, and that's where that quote from Huron comes in. He's like, we get what you're saying. We get why you're burning it because you don't want to play. But by showing yourself not playing, everybody's going to think that you're doing some kind of deep, dark plan or some sort. And they're just like, doesn't want to talk to anybody. Who does he know that's so powerful he doesn't need to talk to even the king? Well, no, he doesn't burn the king.
Yeah, he does.
He does. Well, not outright in front of everybody. I don't think he does.
No, and they're in a different inn at that time. I think it's so the inn that they're at burns down, and then he meets up with all the other party that had been left behind, including Varen.
Oh yeah.
Who then they all decide that they're going to go to the Damodred party, and not the king's party. And so then he throws the king's invitation in the fire. But it's kind of a private. It's a more private thing.
Yeah, I remember him saying like he remembers what he was cautioned by Huron and yeah, and he's like, all right, I'm not going to throw these in the fire because I think he goes to it. And Huron's like, don't.
Yeah, when
everybody
he gets those two invitations,
and only a full
yeah, nobody refuses the king or they die.
Pretty much.
Nobody messes with Tom's girlfriend or they die. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, which girlfriend?
No, well, I'm thinking of Dina.
Yeah,
I think is her name. And
yeah.
She's killed because the king is trying to get to Tom, and so then Tom goes off and kills the king.
Yeah, it's such a sad scene too. Like, you already know Tom has been this guy that's gone through all this shit. You know, with his nephew, with Queen Morgaze, with everything to do with that. He finally finds this woman that he's like, I'm willing to be attached to her. Walks back in the room, is like, hey, and then finds out that her throat's been slit. Like pure blood rage.
He goes full parent for a couple of minutes there.
I mean, I can't really say I blame him, but and that's the dangerous side of the game of houses, right? Because over the years, it's gone from just political maneuvering to like assassination, whatever, like doing whatever it takes to get where you want to be, but without anybody knowing definitively and being able to prove that you did whatever you did to get where you are. And that sounds like the most confusing explanation ever.
That kind of brings me into the point that I wanted to make, which was that he's used to playing the game of houses in a whole different city. He's used to playing in Camelin, which is on a whole... Carrion is kind of where it was invented, and it's on a whole nother level than Camelin. And I think somebody at some point counsels Tom not to get involved in the game in Carrion because it's different than what he knew, and it's been 20 years. I think it's the innkeeper at the inn where he's staying. It's like, you used to be a master at this 20 years ago in a different city. Like, you don't know what you're doing here. And I mean, Tom, he was a master and he did know what he was doing, but his girlfriend still got dead.
Oh yeah.
Still got dead. She woke up dead.
Damn. She done dead, woke up dead. How you wake up dead?
So my point is that they play this in 4 places that are specifically mentioned. I think is Carrion, Camelin, Tyr, and Tar Valon.
Yeah. Because in Tar Valon, it's just the Aes Sedai, like as the companion calls it, the intrigue. Right. You know, they don't like in Carrion. Fuck me. In the goddamn Sun Throne place, they don't openly talk about it, but everybody knows about it, and they will call it the game. They call it the game. And in Camelin, it's still talked about, but in more hushed tones. In Tyr, I don't think you ever hear it called the game, but they're doing the same thing.
And it's part of.
And then for the Aes Sedai,
in Tyr, I think it's part of them like envying other nobles in other cities and trying to copy them. So they're playing like a watered down imitation version of the game because they don't fully understand it. But I think
like, for me, the High Lords in Tyr, and I don't mean to cut you off, but they always seem like they're trying to play at being world-class nobles, but not knowing what the hell they're doing at them. Like, they're more concerned with like oiling their beards to
powdering their foreheads
and looking fancy. Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
They're interested in form and not function, and
they're like the hillbilly hicks of the noble world.
Tyr is interesting. They have this whole thing where they're afraid of channelers, but they've collected the biggest like assemblage of Angreal, Terangreal, Sa'angreal, anywhere outside of
Tarva.
But they're afraid of channeling. It's like,
like, we don't want anyone to use it. We're just going to
figure it out. Come on.
Yeah, but yeah, and then the Aes Sedai, for them, they know what they're doing, but for them, I think they see it more as not trying to maneuver in power, because their power prestige when you become an Aes Sedai kind of set by your channeling ability. It's never really spoken about, but it's understood. You're stronger than me, so I have to defer to you. For the longest, until that kind of changes later after Egwene becomes the Emerald Sea.
Yeah, after they kind of infuse the AL culture and the women's circle culture all get kind of infused with Tar Valon, and it kind of breaks up some of those old things. But I think the point is that way before that the game was patterned off of Aes Sedai intrigues, and everybody
Yeah, like them trying to find ways around.
everybody else thinks of it as a game, and the witches in Tar Valon think of it as a way of life.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would argue that because of severity it's gotten to, and I'm gonna just call it Kareen. I know I'm wrong, but because of the severity it's gotten to in Kareen, that it's a way of life for them too, because so many people so ingrained in it now.
Yeah, like they're raised on it.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Kareen, there we go. I got it. I got the pronunciation up.
Kareen.
Kareen. Make sure I'm listening to it right. Yep, Kareen. It's like Encyclopedia-WOT is such a good tool whenever I can remember to use it.
Unless you're trying to do anything related to A Memory of Light, then it fails.
Well, yeah. Well, it's in progress.
Yeah,
anyway.
Well, it's been in progress. Yeah, I looked at their Twitter the other day. It's been in progress for like 4 years now, that last page.
I mean, it's a long book. I
think it got I think the website's been abandoned.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, somebody's still playing for the domain.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so we don't see this type of maneuvering anywhere in the Borderlands.
No.
Which is great. But it's because they're more concerned with the Shadow Spawn and the Blight. You know, they have a common enemy to fight against rather than themselves. So they're not worried about like that individual power, status, or wealth, and they've put an emphasis on that. You know, they kind of almost IL-like battle prowess and doing good things in battles, what gets you status and recognition, rather than I can say things in a clever way and you don't know what I mean.
I think we see the game a little bit from Fail, but she doesn't do it very well. And she thinks pretty highly of herself, though. She's like super impressed. And she's basically getting her butt kicked in the game by Berylane, who's only half playing.
Oh, yeah. So I think it's more of like, because Fail is both by virtue of her upbringing and her adventures as a hunter of the Horn, kind of gotten exposed to a good, I would say, a fair chunk of the world. You know, at least from Saldea down to Tyr. And it's like she's seen something that she finds interesting, that she sees as a challenge. Because let's face it, Fail is definitely that kind of adolescent that enjoys things that are a challenge. I mean, look at how the tradition in Saldea is for, you know, women becoming submissive to their husbands. They don't just do it naturally. They have to be, like, the husband has to show that he is dominant and in control, or they won't do what he wants. Which, take from that whatever you want, but it's their culture. So who are we to judge somebody's culture?
Well, we're the Black Tower, gosh darn it, and we're going to do it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we are. But that's not what we're doing today.
That's not today's episode. I think there is one planned of the Saldean culture for the future.
If not,
there is now.
But it's just this great thing to see, and it's so me having studied what I studied in college. I find the game of houses, the great game, whatever you want to call it, DSMR, to be incredibly intrigued, and I see the value behind it, and I see what it does, and I think most readers can. Whenever, you know, our old boy Rand has become involved in it, whether he realizes, well, he ultimately realizes it, but you know, Tom does a fair share of the work for him, because he does it first in Kyrian, to whenever Rand was hunting the Horn, and then he does it in here again after Rand proclaims himself the dragon. You know, writing letters and sending them to different nobles and different lords and everything in both places. You know, hinting, because I think he was the one that sent the letters to the one Tyrion High Lord, basically saying that like his wife was like cheating on him or the other way around, something like that.
Oh man, it's been so long I can't remember. I mean, I remember
I think
the outcome of that, but I can't remember what he did.
I remember the wife finds out. Yeah, the wife finds out and like basically has one of them killed, I think.
Or she tries.
Something terrific. Yeah, she tries. But it's all done to keep them off balance. They're so busy. It's like he's keeping them so busy fighting each other or trying to figure each other out that they can't really scheme against Rand, which is what Rand needs. And Tom realizes that, and Moraine knows it as well, because she's another skilled, player.
Yeah,
I guess
as a Damodred from Carrion, she is, she grew up on the game, and then she moved to the White Tower, where it's all intrigue and shuffling and whispers in dark corners.
Yeah, which is something Moraine is. I mean, before we even know about the game, we already know that she's very, very accomplished in knowing things that people are shocked to find out that she knows, to hearing things that no one thought that she could know.
Talking about being shocked to find something out, I was reading through this series on my first read through. I'm all the way done, by the way. And this whole time, Barrelane, who's the first man, this little country kind of off to the border of Tyr, she's desperately trying to keep Mayen from being absorbed by Tyr, and she does it by playing the game of houses so well that she has power over basically whoever is in charge, whoever the High Lords are in Tyr. And it's like everybody thinks that she's been sleeping with all of these men in order to hold power over them. And then there's a point after Fail gets captured and Perrin collapses from exhaustion and wakes up in her tent, right? And she kind of lets everybody think that they were doing it even when they weren't. And he denies her again. He says, I'm married. I'm faithful to my wife. I'm not gonna cheat on her. And she's like, something to the effect of, would you be surprised to learn that if you had slept with me, you'd be the third man ever? And she basically admitted to using the rumors of her sexual promiscuity that were not true, spreading them herself and using them to create power for herself. And I think that's like the most like clear-cut example of the game that we see in the whole series, where it's kind of all spelled out for you step by step what she did in order to accomplish something. There's a lot more complicated examples, especially in the whole Lion Throne and Rose Throne like ascension debacle, where nobody knows who's taking over and everybody's there's a whole lot more complicated and powerful moves going on there. But I think in trying to understand what the game is, that example of Barrelane using her own rumors, using her own sexuality in order to create power for herself is the best example that exists.
Well, yeah, because a lot about the game is, using what you have, anything that's kind of like unique to you or that you're exceptionally good at, in the best way possible to gain favor and status and power. Whether it's, trying to set yourself up for a claim to the Sun Throne or, even the Lion Throne, or if it's just trying to get closer to whoever is currently in charge, or whoever sits on the throne. It's all about, what do I have that I can bring, that I've acquired or was born with, that none of these other people have? And then how can I let them see it without just going straight up to them and saying, here, look at this thing? Because there's far more to gain if Queen Morgase saw something that lesser nobles had, and they didn't bring it up. But she brought it up. Then they're like, "Oh, I've been noticed. I'm doing the right thing." And I think it's the same in Kyrian. There we go.
Oh yeah, Kyrian.
I feel like I just should sit in front of a mirror saying all the words.
Like trying to memorize the shape of your mouth when you say it so that you can say it again.
All right. Oh, but and Rand isn't. We obviously all know that Rand hates it, and I think it's fairly obvious that Perrin hates it as well. But Perrin has this ongoing dislike of anything that's like sneaky, subterfuge, kind of wheeling and dealing kind of deal.
Right.
And that goes, throughout the time. He's freaking the most easiest example, I guess, would be Fail, where he's always frustrated at her, like saying one thing and doing another, and he knows it because he can smell the different scents coming off of her. Which, how cool is it that he can smell emotion?
Well,
How cool that has to be.
Apparently, it's really frustrating to try and have a relationship.
Well, yeah. So there's a downside. The cool side is if she's angry and says, "No, everything's fine," he can smell that and be like, "No, something's wrong. Tell me."
Anytime that a woman, especially your wife, says, "No, everything's fine," you just automatically assume that she's lying to you.
Oh, what's that meme that I used to love so much? It's like, I had a picture of this woman. She's like, "No, it's fine. Go out with your friends. Have fun." It's like, have fun. And there's all these soldiers like, "Negative. Abort mission. Do not have fun.
Do not go." Yep, totally agree with that one.
Do not pass go. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. And here's your pillows and blankets for the couch.
We always say that we're going to get angry tweets and emails, and we never do. Pretty sure this one is going to do it for us.
Yeah. And it is what it is. You knew what you were getting into whenever you started listening. Well, maybe not, but
yeah. Well, if you're still listening, 14 episodes in, you know what's coming.
Yeah. I'm not sorry. I am who I am. I am. And you are you.
Oh my gosh. This is off topic, but the White Tower tweeted the other day. They retweeted somebody's message that got sent to them, and it was like they were watching the Power Rangers movie with their kid. They're like, I think it was. I'm going to guess on the age and say it was like a 10-year-old kid. It might have been younger, but the kid went. There's the scene where the Power Rangers are walking towards the screen, and there's like a tall, thin-shaped mountain in the background. And the kid goes, "Mommy, look, it's Dick Mountain."
That is fantastic.
I about died laughing.
Be so proud of my kid. Like, I don't know what you've been listening to.
The
Actually,
White Tower podcast. That's what they've been listening to.
I just automatically send a message to Jen and just like, "God damn it." My wife is pissed. Why? Because my kids just called a big mountain Big Mountain.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome.
Kudos to the White Tower. You know what? Just for them, I'm gonna take a little sip of this Sailor Jerry's right here.
Do it.
Sounds weird to say out loud.
Do it. You're gonna have to drink for both of us.
Oh, I think I've got about maybe a shot and a half in the bottle.
So I have to go to work.
Oh yeah.
Don't you have to go to school tonight?
Yeah. It doesn't start till 7.
Well, yeah. It's not like you're.
And there's online videos that teach me everything. I just have to physically be in. Not physically. Like, my computer has to say I'm in the class.
It's not like you have to operate heavy machinery or anything.
Mm-hmm. It burns. Good.
So I think the most interesting thing about the game of houses, is to watch how much more Rand gets accomplished than people who've been playing it their whole lives. He starts off the game by saying, "I don't want to play. This is dumb." Like he goes from total disdain for the game to being so artful that at the end he's figured out a way to manipulate all of the countries in the world, not even just houses, but all of the countries in the world into a giant piece of cord that's going to last for, I don't know, forever, hopefully. Like,
yeah, I mean, and look at how I think it's interesting to watch the way he gets started in it. I mean, beyond the I don't want to play, and everybody's like, well, you not playing is playing, and he's like, what the fuck?
right?
No, I just don't want to do it. I'm going to burn everybody's invitations. And they're like, you're still playing because everybody thinks you're a lord. You know, before he is proclaimed as a dragon reborn and known to be the dragon reborn. But after that, you know, that title brings him a lot of power and a lot of leeway because everybody knows. You know, they may not know the specifics or have read the entire Corinthian cycle or the Jodi prophecies or Jendai prophecies, and then the Ales prophecies or the carrot corn. But it'll never be the carrot corn. It'll forever be the carrot corn.
The candy corn.
The candy corn. That there candy corn. But
and
you know, he starts off
right.
like
you add that to his Tavera nature.
Yeah. And then he winds up having two friends that become lords in their own right, not because of stuff that they've done for Rand. I mean, unintentionally, yeah, but not because of Rand's told them, because they do things themselves. You know, with Perrin coming back and, you know, thankfully expelling Lord Luke from the Two Rivers, not knowing that he really did it at first.
That bastard.
Yeah, that motherfucker. But and then, you know, Matt becomes a lord by becoming a successful general and kidnapping the Empress of the Shanshan and giving her Stockholm syndrome.
The Florence Nightingale syndrome, but Matt is Florence Nightingale.
That's like the most unorthodox way to play the game of houses.
Kidnap your
like, you know what? I'm going to get the power by kidnapping the ruler and making her fall in love with me. It's like really horrible, and then you're like, okay, ignoring the horrible part, it's kind of sweet.
Okay,
but you knew this was going to happen. Anyway.
At first I was a little upset that Matt, who just got out of this abusive relationship with Tylan, would then turn around and perpetrate something like that on somebody else. But when you read into the books further, you discover that Tuon, who later becomes Fortuona, is obsessed with the signs, the omens, and if she did not want to go with Matt, she would not have gone with him.
Oh yeah, she could have stopped him. She could have put up a fight, called the guards. She could have gotten away.
I'm not saying she wanted it. I'm saying she made a choice to go with him and didn't stop him. She still at every turn maintained control over what was happening with her and with him.
I mean, I think we'd be doing a disservice if we missed the similarity between her final name, Fortuona, and Fortune.
Yeah.
Like, she's like an empress fortune teller that reads the signs, loves the signs, and, you know, believes in all the signs. And it's because of that she's like, okay, well, here's this, you know, outsider from the lands that have forgotten everything to do with what we hold near and dear. He's going to lead the armies now. Congratulations, Prince of Raven. You're like,
well,
I'm sorry, what?
To be fair to her, it took a long time for her to get to that place of acceptance, even though she had seen the omens and heard him say the things that he needed to say in order for them to be married.
Yeah, but that's an entirely Matt way to play the game of houses.
It's unorthodox,
just pretty blunt
and direct, and it doesn't take shit from anybody. That's for sure.
Yeah. Whereas Perrin never really plays it, but Theo plays it for him.
She does on his behalf, and I think at some point he just kind of gives up trying to keep her from doing it.
Yeah, I mean, because she does it as early as the Two Rivers. He's like, go away so that you're safe. And she brings back, militias. She's like, I knew you would need them. I knew what you meant when you wanted me to go away. And he's like, I actually meant go away, but
go away. Thank you.
Thanks, babe. I love you. It's that kind of stuff. And then, of course, you mix in all three Taviran natures. And it's one of those things. So the way the books are written, there's sections of the book that hint like you could fail, they could fail. But the way the books are written and the attributes that the Two Rivers boys have, it makes it impossible to fail unless they want to fail, and they never want to fail, except for Perrin. Perrin wants to fail every night, all night
long.
What do the White Tower say? Something about like nightly and ever so rightly.
Yeah.
Giving it to her nightly, ever so rightly. Yeah, they're talking about men in the crossover episode.
Something like that.
M-I-N, not M.
Rand is giving it to her daily, nightly.
Daily and nightly, ever so rightly. Yeah. That needs to be on a shirt or something now.
God damn it, Bandersnatch group. Release.
We'll see.
Gosh darn patents already.
You and your intellectual property. You're lucky we love you, Harriet.
It's funny though.
You're not lucky.
Now that we know that all of the licensing rights are being slowly let to time out so that they can revert to Sony/Amazon. It's funny, I keep seeing a lot of unlicensed Wheel of Time merchandise out there and going, man, these people are going to be in big trouble when Amazon and Sony get a hold of these patents.
Well, yeah, that's because, all the people that hold patents right now probably they either don't know, or because they know their license is going to expire at some point in the relatively near future. Obviously, we don't know when. They're like, okay, well, it is what it is. But whenever Sony and Amazon have the licensing rights, they have the finances and the legal architecture to see all of this and send out the cease and desist orders. Which, I wouldn't be surprised if that didn't happen one way or another. And it's going to potentially be an issue. And I'm hoping that places like tarvalon.net and the Wheel of Time Wiki and those kind of places in Taviran Tees, instead of being given, cease and desist, are brought into the fold with Sony and Amazon, and not just like kicked to the curb, because they've done so much for the community in terms of officially licensed artwork and, apparel, trinkets, whether it's like, I don't know, coffee mugs or mouse pads or, the Oshman pens, Aja necklaces, all that kind of stuff. That it would be, to me, I think it would be a tragedy to see them pushed out of the community. And I don't think that Team Dragon would allow that, because they've developed such a good relationship. I mean, like when we did the episode, when we did the episode with Cave Geek and Taviran Tees, every year they go down to Charleston and they meet with Harriet and the rest of Team Dragon. They just get together and talk about things, and they have a good time. And I don't think Harriet would just let, the people she has this relationship with that have done good things for her in the series and, for Brandon Sanderson and the memory of Robert Jordan over the years. I would be surprised if Taviran Tees got any kind of cease and desist and not just say, hey, welcome to the Sony Amazon family.
Right.
So, but I am hoping Cave Geek's thing, Wheel of Time map can be licensed by Taviran Tees and Harriet before any of this happens. And I feel confident that it will. He's making great progress.
Yeah. And
which is kind of its own real world application of the Game of Houses. Who do you know and what do you bring to the table that no one else can?
And we're not sure when the show is going to release anyways. I just saw, I got a notification that Daniel Green put up a new video with the news of the confirmed filming location and the schedule. I'm assuming it means filming schedule that's been released. Talking
about the one that talks about Prague starting in September of this year? Yeah, which is going to be dope because every time someone says Prague, all I can think about is the first XXX movie.
The only XXX movie, you mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the third one wasn't bad. I wasn't a huge fan of the one with Ice-T. Nothing against Ice-T. It was like good acting, but
Yeah.
yeah. But I like the third one.
It was a poor concept for a movie.
I mean, I think it was a good like one-shot movie.
Yeah. No, I mean,
but I don't think it's like a franchise. You know, just like I don't think Fast and Furious should be a franchise.
Talking about the second movie was a poor concept for a movie.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was pretty decent.
I mean, but the villain, like, as soon as you saw the Green Goblin in the president's cabinet, you're like, he's going to be the bad guy.
Right.
Because he's almost always the bad guy. I mean, he even is kind of the bad guy in the Boondock Saints. Because he helps him. You go from the legal aspect.
Yeah. So.
But that has nothing to do with the Game of Houses. How will we get on Boondock Saints from the Game of
Because
Houses?
it's a badass movie.
Yeah, and we are just, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. We're whatever we are. And fill in the blank here. This is your homework for tonight.
Yeah.
The Black Tower is blank. Actually, that would be dope to see if you do the Black Tower is blank
Right.
on Twitter and like tweet it at us.
At Tower Podcast.
And you can be, at Tower Podcast. Like you can be as nice or as cruel as you want. I personally don't care.
You're not going to hurt my feelings.
So I'm going to laugh.
I would have to have feelings
you're
in
not
order
gonna,
for you to hurt them.
Yeah. And my feelings died a long time ago, along with some portion of my liver.
I crushed them deep down and hid them in a box and threw it in the ocean.
And it sank to the bottom of the... I almost called it the Marinara Trench, and I know that's wrong.
The Marianas Trench?
Yeah, I was close. At least it started with an M, all right?
It's okay.
I was sitting there trying to think of the name, and all I could think was
I've watched at least one
like,
submarine movie in my life, so I know what that is.
Oh, good. See, this is what we do. Aaron corrects me, and I say stupid shit.
Andrew drinks, and I know things. That's what we do.
Yeah. Together, we're one full Lannister. Well, half a Lannister. One full half Lannister.
We're having all kinds of problems sticking with the Wheel of Time today, aren't we?
We are. I mean, just like the Game of Houses, like it's a good topic. It's something that is, I wouldn't say a core concept, but it's not one of those like side concepts you can ignore because it's important for the main character, namely, Rand, Moraine, Tom, Elaine, and the Aes Sedai do it, whatever they want to call it. But in reality, there's not really a whole lot you can say about it as far as what it is. It's this kind of this fantasy style political wheeling and dealing, assassinations, the kind of stuff that you hear conspiracy theorists talk about, or in some cases, in some countries, what actually happens in the real world. There's always people that are trying to get closer to the president or the prime minister or the sheik or, name a leadership title.
Right.
And there's many cases throughout history where they do it by whatever means necessary. So it's for us, I think it can be incredibly real because it's a lot of living in the United States. When you see things like lobbyist groups and all that, that is essentially the essence of the Game of Houses. It's, hey, I can give you this, but I want you to give me something in return. Right. It's just sometimes a lot more blunt.
I do think it's worth mentioning real quick because we broke the Game of Thrones seal that The Great Hunt, which is the book that introduces the Game of Houses or the Great Game, was published in 1990, and A Song of Ice and Fire, the first book in that series, A Game of Thrones, was published in 1996. So I get the criticism of Robert Jordan when people say he borrowed too much from Tolkien, but I dare you to tell me that he borrowed anything from George Martin.
I think it's the reverse. Like I just this past Saturday night had a friend from college. It was his birthday. He's a huge Game of Thrones fan, and he's read up to in the Eye of the World where Rand and Matt meet Moraine and Lan, and then the next book in A Song of Ice and Fire, where the Game of Thrones series came out, and he got derailed, which makes me personally sad.
Right.
But we were talking about it, and I was like, look, like, you know how in the Game of Thrones you have all these people vying for political power, willing to assassinate, willing to, lie and do all this other. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I firmly believe that Martin, at least in part, got that idea from the Game of Houses.
Right.
And everything. I'm not saying he stole it. I'm not saying he borrowed it, because they're not the same. And this is coming from someone that's only watched season 1 and haven't read the books. So Aaron's going to be better at Game of Thrones stuff than me. And I know some of you are like, you better take off that shirt right now, which I say, no, I abide by the Twitch terms of services. They're not on Twitch, so I will not take off the shirt because it's accurate to me. And I do want to finish watching it, but I'm too busy. But that's, people that are huge Game of Thrones fans, it's one of the things I tell them. I know enough about the series to know that's a generic concept. I mean, it's literally called the Game of Thrones. And I'm like, that's almost a direct play on the Game of Houses, because the thrones are ruled by people from different houses or families.
Right.
So that's my deal. Wheel of Time for life.
Yeah. Watt forever.
Get out of here, got time for what?
It's our time.
It's our time now.
And I think, I don't know.
I think it's going to be good. Like, I think Wheel of Time is going to fill the hole left by the ending of Game of Thrones.
Right. I think
pretty easy.
There's a big audience out there now who has accepted the idea of watching fantasy series or a high fantasy series brought to the screen. People who wouldn't have been open to the idea before they watched Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. I mean, do you know of some more like parallels kind of between Game of Thrones and the Wheel of Time?
Man, I'd have to think. I know that there probably are some. I mean, there's this whole thing with the White Walkers, and they're basically like snow zombies, right? And they kill people and reanimate their corpses into like a right, they call it WRIGHT, and they act kind of like a zombie, and it's all spooky, and there's kind of mist involved. And when I was reading A Memory of Light and Pen Fane, May He Burn in Hell, is like converting all of these Trollocs and any people that he finds into like zombies with the touch of Shadar Logoth, the mist, right? And it just reminded me of that aspect of Game of Thrones. But clearly that part of Game of Thrones was written way before the end of Wheel of Time. So I think the point we should be making here is that series like The Hobbit or The Two Towers, The Fellowship of the Rings, whatever you want to call it, the Tolkien series, Robert Jordan series, George R.R. Martin series, they're all living in this genre, and they pull from this common well of ways of conveying an idea to somebody. And we say there's nothing new. Nobody creates anything new anymore. And to some extent that's true. They're just reusing old ideas that other people have written about before or talked about before. But it's when they do it in a new and interesting way and create a compelling story that's when you sit up and pay attention to it. Because anybody with a computer can sit there and bang out 4.4 million words worth of trash. You know, that's just reused tropes and ideas from other people, but only somebody who's really good and worth listening to. And I realize this is fast becoming a Robert Jordan love fest right now, but there it is. What?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get it, because as much as we hate to admit it, fantasy series have a limited pool of information to make it fantasy. Too far one side and you become more like science fiction kind of style, or if you try to explain how everything works too much rather than it's just a thing that exists. And you go the other way and you get into some kind of absurd craziness that people just don't pick up on. I mean, take the oldest known.
You mean Dune?
Oh, yeah. But I mean, take the oldest known fantasy story that we have, the oldest legend, the Epic of Gilgamesh out of Mesopotamia. And you have this guy that's just bestowed this uncharacteristic power, that has a friend that they go and they destroy a giant, and now he is a ruler. And very simple concept, but it's a lot of kind of the same concepts that follow for every fantasy after that. There's someone that has this unique attribute or this unique, superhuman ability, power, intellect, something of that sort. And it leads them to gain. And, either they hit a point where they overextend themselves and they die and they pay for it, where they got dumb, or they succeed. Like the closest thing that comes to mind that's doing it in a more different way, just for what I know, is going to be like the Unbreakable, Split, and the Glass movies or series,
right?
Where they're like taking these medical conditions, spoilers on that if no one has watched any of them, and I'm not an expert because I've only watched Unbreakable, but a guy that has extremely brittle bones, but he's super fucking intelligent. And surprise, surprise, he's the bad guy at the end of Unbreakable. What to do? Like, you can see that part coming because it is an M. Night Shyamalan twist, which isn't a surprise. Sorry. And then you have a guy that has multiple personalities. Each one has really good things or really strong points, really weak points. So that's like, to me, is an interesting twist on the like kind of super abilities, superhuman attributes, whatever it is. But I say fantasy feeds fantasy. Robert Jordan obviously was influenced by Tolkien with the Lord of the Rings. Even the New York Times was able to pick up on that one. And then, I do believe that Martin was influenced by Jordan in some way or form. And I think it's one of those things where people are like, look, you did something really cool here. I really like what you did. I'm going to change it to my own kind of spin for what fits for mine. But I mean, it's good. It works. And look at how many fantasy movies people love and enjoy. Everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people love Lord of the Rings. And a lot of the same people that love Lord of the Rings love Game of Thrones. If they've been exposed to it, a lot of those people love Wheel of Time. It's a formula that works, because they're all done in, I think, in just enough a different way to make them stand out as their own independent fantasy. But it's still the fantasy genre that we've all come to know and love and escape from reality with. And that's ultimately what we all want, right?
Right.
An escape from reality. Because reality sucks ass.
Usually.
I mean, it's got good points. It's got bad points. But, if anybody could choose to live in this world or live in like the world of Dragon Ball Z or Game of Thrones, not as like Ned Stark, or name one of any other however many characters that die. So Ned Stark is the only one. That's why I stopped watching after season 1. Like, no.
Yeah, that was pretty heartbreaking. You get all excited for this character who's an actor that you know and love from before the series started, and then they kill him off, which is another reason why I think the people who are claiming that the series, when it does start, is going to be mostly unknown actors and actresses, I believe that that's probably an accurate assessment, and I hope that it's true, because anybody who we lose as part of the series I mean, I don't know how to say it better than that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I also at the same time hope that they can sprinkle in occasionally enough well-known actors, actresses, or just say actors, period, with no gender assigned, because I know that's a thing. That people that may not watch the series unless they recognize an actor's name, that it can draw some of those people in that maybe would not normally watch The Wheel of Time.
Right.
But that's more driven not on substance of the series, but on increasing the fan base, because we see what the fan base is already. You know, there's so many of these fantastic character-inspired Twitter accounts. There's all these podcast and content creators. You know, we on YouTube, we've got Daniel Green. There's others that do fantasy in general, like Civilization EX. There's another one, which I know we've talked to a little bit on email, Bedtime Bookworm, that's currently plowing through the series or working on the series as far as reading. And then that's just YouTube. You know, that's 3 channels right there. And then you look at all the podcasts and Twitter accounts. You know, Trollic Talk, Narg the Trollic, the White Tower podcast. There's Wheel of Time spoilers. You know, all these podcasts we've talked about before, and I don't want anyone to feel left out by not saying their name. Like, I know your name, and I'm not even good with Twitter. You know, Aaron does most of our Twitter presence. I just message people and bug them like, hey, you want to do something? And they're like, maybe. Who are you? Actually, no one's been like, who are you?
Why is he sending me messages?
Why is this like Black Tower thing sending me messages saying what's going on? And they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
But you know, we've gotten some pretty good interviews, or not interviews, but guest appearances on the show because of that.
Oh yeah, I don't think we've had a bad one at all.
No, we haven't had any bad ones. And we've got some coming up, some in talks that we're talking to people. I think people are going to be excited to hear what some of these other people have to say. And, you know, every time we talk to somebody else, it adds a little more diversity into the message that's coming out and what people are hearing. And there's some people like Greg, who we talked with the other day, who didn't have his own way for people to hear what he had to say. And that's another thing that we want to do some of, is, you know, introduce our listeners, people who want to listen and want to hear, to different points of view about the series and different opinions on the way it was read, written, introduced, released, whatever.
I mean, I think ultimately what we want to do is we want to add to the fandom. We want to add to Twitter of Time. We want to add to Wheel of Time, and I think we're just lucky enough to come in as the announcement on the series hits. And I know I've said it before. I think it's going to explode even more once the series does hit. But I mean, to me, like, it's not like a mark of achievement or anything for me. It's just like personal honor in terms of the podcast, that in the short time we've been around, you know, since mid-October, that we've had the White Tower podcast on. We most recently had Daniel Green on. Cave Geek, who isn't even, I mean, he's read the series or listened to the series, audiobooks and reading, and is working on a map for it. And through him, we got in contact with Tavir and Tease. Like, I'm still in shock at some of this, you know. And then of course Greg we've had on, and some of the other people that we've talked to. It still just blows my mind that not only have we been able to talk with these people about the Wheel of Time, but the people that we've talked to, like, it's just such a good community, and a kind community, and a receptive community, that we are so used to so much negativity and just nastiness on like Facebook and Twitter and all this other, because of all these other issues. But here's the Wheel of Time series. It's made this community where people are like, you know what? Yeah, I'd love to talk. Let's talk about the series. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. And nobody's like, it has to be this. It has to be that. Everybody's like, well, what works for you? Okay, well, out of that, this works for me. Let's talk about it. And to me, it's an incredibly beautiful thing. And to be a part of it, and whatever small part we are, is it's kind of like uplifting. It's almost like that faith in humanity restored kind of meme thing. You know, I mean, I know it's like super mushy right there,
Right.
but I mean, it's just the way I feel about it, because it's very rare to see an example of some nastiness in the Wheel of Time. It does happen. As far as the fandom and community goes, it does. For whatever reason, we've seen some of that. Unfortunately, I think we've seen the example that the White Tower was exposed to, with that one guy that's like, oh, I won't listen anymore. And it's like, well, if you're going to be that kind of guy, then, or that kind of person, then, we really don't need you around.
Right.
Because the community on Twitter, the Twitter of Time, the YouTube creators, the name your platform creators that work on this, everybody that we've talked to and met with have been just incredibly nice people. We might differ on opinions on different things. There might be things that they're all for that, myself or Aaron or both of us don't really either care about or we're not for. But the thing is we can talk about it all through the lens of the Wheel of Time and not be nasty about it. And it's such a rare thing in modern society that it makes it inherently its own kind of fantasy beauty, I think. God, that sounded fucking cliche, and I feel like I need to wash my mouth with bleach now.
Yeah.
But
turn around and look behind you. How many sets of footprints are there in the sand? Like, you're being a little mushy right now. You need to take about 50-20% off of there.
Hey. That was my one moment of feelings. Okay, the veteran facade fell away. The shield was gone. I was trying to connect with people.
And now I validate your feelings about them.
Shut the fuck up. I mean, I love you. I know you. I know what you're doing.
This one has gone off the rails, folks.
Yeah, I mean, that might be the new norm. Who knows?
Yeah, I think us rambling is fast becoming a common thing for this show. I think we're at a good place to end it. We've talked as much about the Game of Houses as I think we possibly can. I mean, there's more to uncover in the book series, but part of my goal in this is to encourage people to read the series more or reread it, looking for stuff they missed. So we've talked about it. It's out there. We already talked about our Twitter, how you can reach us there. You can also email us. It's
blacktowerpod@gmail.com.
Thank you. It's different from our Twitter for some reason, and that always messes me up. I always want to say it's at Black Tower Pod, but that's not it at all.
Yeah, that's not how you write emails,
Nope.
Aaron.
I should know.
You don't start with the at. It's like halfway through or later.
I should know. Yeah, that's pretty much. We have
Facebook.
It's all out there. If you hit up our website, which is
blacktowerpod.podbean.com.
Perfect. You will find a list of all of our links to social media. It just is easier that way. One of those that I wanted to talk about briefly, we don't talk about it every week, but I wanted to hit it today, is our Patreon account. And I feel like people are always asking their listeners for money or whatever. I hate that, but we're going to power through it. We do have some expenses related to putting the show together, and if people want to and are willing to, they can visit our Patreon, throw some cash our way, help us out. There are some rewards involved with that, some little perks that you get. Some one of those you heard today, where we had a listener record our spoiler warning. It's stuff like that. Don't do it for the perks. Do it because you love us or hate us and want to listen to us some more. But if we don't get enough people to give us money on Patreon, we're still just going to keep doing it, and we'll just pay the money out of our pocket. Like, it's not. Yeah, we both have full-time jobs. You're not taking food out of our children's mouths if you don't give us money on Patreon.
Yeah, my dog doesn't suffer because you don't subscribe on Patreon.
I think we both live pretty reasonable and financially sound lives.
Yeah, but I do want to shout out. We currently have 3 Patreon supporters.
We do,
and I do want to shout them out. Sunmi Ejuimi has subscribed at the Soldier tier, which is $1 a month, and that is Bookworm 200. That is the spoiler warning you heard today. We also have Dustin Martinez, who has supported us at the Soldier tier, and we're working on getting the spoiler warning recorded with him. And then out of nowhere, Matthew Netherland supported us at the Ashaman tier. And these guys have been fantastic. I was blown away at the first, blown away at the second, blown away at the third. And the thing is, if you just want to do the spoiler warning for us, that doesn't require ongoing patronage. It's a one-time benefit that you get at any tier. So if you find yourself 1 month with an extra $1, make us holler. Hit that one, do that $1, and when we get the notification, then we'll reach out to you on Patreon and be like, hey, as part of your benefits, you can record a spoiler warning for us. Do you want to do it? So you're not obviously required, but if you want to, that's how, and we coordinate that with you as best as we can. And don't worry, even if your internet doesn't let you have a stable connection with us for whatever reason, there is always where you can just record it and send it to us via email, or we'll always work out a way to make things work for our patrons. And there's more benefits coming. A part of that came in a couple days ago. I sent you the message on Facebook.
Yeah.
Waiting for the rest of that one to come in, and then there's more stuff to come. And if you can think of benefits, stuff that you'd like to see, the Patreon isn't so that we can make money, as we've already said. It's so that we can continue more easily to do stuff for the viewers, for those of you that like listening, that enjoy it, that want to, see it continue. Not that it won't if you don't, because it will. We'll make sure of that. But we want to do as much as we can for the listeners. And Patreon provides a way to let us do some extra, more exclusive stuff as a proper reward for those of you that go above and beyond to help support us in this. And we want to support you in return with, whatever we can do.
Well, I think that about covers it. We plugged ourselves pretty hard here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How you do?
I think.
Plug me harder.
Oh. Lower.
Too low.
I think we're done for the day.
Yeah, I think we are. I think we're good.
Andrew's getting silly.
Am I ever not?
Do you want me to answer that question?
No. Let's do the outro. Let's say goodbye.
For those of us here at the Black Tower, my name is Aaron.
And I am Andrew.
And when you play the game of houses, make sure you don't get burned.